In a dusty transport yard, a worker approaches the rear ramp of a heavily loaded flatbed, unaware that the load is beginning to shift. Never stand beneath or linger near the rear overhang of a loaded transport vehicle that hasn't been mechanically stabilized. In a busy cargo yard, a woman walks across open pavement as a forklift approaches carrying a large crate. The elevated load blocks the operator's forward view. Forklift operators must never drive forward when their line of sight is obstructed by a bulky load. Likewise, pedestrians must never walk through active equipment lanes. When a large crate blocks forward vision, the equipment presents a substantial operational risk to anyone unknowingly entering its movement path. To prevent this type of situation, operators are required to travel in reverse when transporting oversized loads. Inside this living room, a routine home improvement task quickly escalates when a ladder loses stability. Never leave a ladder unsupported on a smooth indoor surface without properly securing its base. Hardwood and laminate flooring provide minimal traction for standard ladder feet, particularly when the ladder is angled over architectural features such as a fireplace hearth. Once the stabilizing support of a human anchor is removed, gravity and weight distribution can quickly overcome surface friction and reduce stability. To prevent this, always use a certified non-slip ladder mat or physically tie off the ladder base when working on polished flooring. If a spotter is used to stabilize the ladder, they must remain in position until the climber has fully descended. Inside an open-front auto supply shop, a worker guides a white SUV into the workshop when unintended. Acceleration occurs during the maneuver. Never stand directly in the travel path of a running vehicle while attempting to guide it. This creates a direct exposure zone. Pedal misapplication or transmission response errors can cause unintended forward movement, transforming a slow maneuver into a sudden approach. Spotters should always guide vehicles from the side at approximately a 45-degree angle, where the driver can clearly see them in mirrors without placing them in the direct path of travel. Always maintain a clear sideways exit route during any vehicle positioning task. During residential deck construction, an unsecured joist shifts overhead while a worker remains positioned below. Unsecured overhead materials create a severe drop zone hazard during construction activities. When heavy lumber is placed into position without immediate fastening, minor vibrations, shifts, or tool contact can dislodge it. Safe framing practices require that every overhead beam be clamped, tacked, or fully fastened immediately upon placement. Ground personnel must remain aware of overhead positioning activities and avoid standing directly beneath temporarily supported materials. In an open-air repair yard, a worker applies excessive torque to the valve of an unsecured pressurized gas cylinder, compromising containment integrity. Never apply excessive force or use unapproved leverage devices on a pressurized cylinder valve. The compressed gas inside stores significant potential energy. If the valve stem is damaged through over-torquing, the rapid release of pressure can cause uncontrolled cylinder movement with substantial force and unpredictable direction. Every gas cylinder must be treated as a high-energy device. Only manufacturer-approved hand wheels or designated cylinder wrenches should be used. If a valve is stuck or corroded, tag the cylinder as defective and return it to the supplier. Never attempt forceful manipulation and never work on an unsecured cylinder resting directly on the ground. At this brickyard, an operator attempts to transport an extremely heavy stack of masonry pavers. As the forklift reverses, the load shifts the machine's center of gravity forward. Exceeding a forklift's rated capacity leads to immediate center of gravity displacement. Forklifts operate on a fulcrum principle. When load weight shifts beyond the front axle's stability triangle, steering and braking effectiveness are significantly reduced. The equipment becomes unstable and increasingly difficult to control, even on level ground. Operators must verify cargo weight against the forklift's data plate before lifting. Dense materials such as masonry should be divided into smaller loads and transported low to the ground to preserve stability. In this confined industrial alleyway, a worker steps into the equipment lane as a forklift approaches carrying a tall load that blocks the operator's forward view. Transporting oversized materials creates a substantial forward blind area for forklift operators. When vision is obstructed, the operator cannot reliably detect obstacles or pedestrians. Heavy industrial equipment moving without clear sight lines presents a serious shared workspace concern, especially in narrow corridors where avoidance space is limited. Operators must travel in reverse when carrying loads that obscure forward vision or use a trained spotter for guidance. Pedestrians must assume operators may not see them and should avoid active travel lanes entirely. Clear separation between machinery paths and walking routes is essential for risk reduction. High on a residential construction site, carpenters complete a cut on an overhanging roof beam, releasing stored tension and altering the framing system's stability. Never cut a structural framing member while relying on that same structure for balance or support, severing a tensioned beam. Instantly redistributes load forces, destabilizing ladders and temporary platforms. This creates an immediate instability zone where structural movement can occur faster than individuals can safely adjust their positioning. Heavy timber should be cut to final dimensions before installation whenever possible. If trimming is necessary after placement, the structure must be permanently braced first. Workers performing elevated tasks must wear full fall protection harnesses tied to secure anchor points. A crane starts lifting a steel beam, but the hook isn't centered. As it is lifted, the beam moves to the side. Initiating a lift without a vertically aligned hoist line creates a lateral shift condition. When the crane block is offset from the load's center of gravity, applied tension causes immediate horizontal movement. Personnel standing beside the load may be exposed to serious contact and pinch point exposure as the load repositions itself beneath the hook. Riggers must confirm the crane hook is centered and plumb before signaling the lift. All workers must clear the immediate deck area before tensioning begins. In a garage workspace, a painter overreaches from the top of an A-frame stepladder, creating a fall hazard. Never, ever allow your belt buckle to pass outside the side rails of a ladder. This is a serious off-center reach error. Stepladders remain stable only when the weight is centered between all 4 feet. Side overreach turns the body into a lever that can tip the ladder. To prevent this, follow the belt buckle rule at all times. If the work cannot be reached comfortably, climb down and reposition the ladder. In a busy commercial kitchen, a worker turns near a row of stock pots, unaware that grease and moisture on the tile floor have reduced traction beneath his footwear. Entering a high-volume kitchen without slip-resistant footwear significantly increases fall potential. Commercial kitchen floors frequently accumulate microscopic layers of oil and water. Without specialized soles designed to channel liquids away, shoes can lose traction instantly when body weight transfers unexpectedly. Workers must wear certified slip-resistant occupational footwear specifically engineered for wet and oily surfaces.